Felix here, and good morning to this pre-market Monday morning, happy blue sky morning live. Is it a beautiful day or is it a beautiful day? Well, the markets are sort of not quite sure what to make of it all. Why? We have apparently a stalemate in Ukraine-Russian negotiations, even though Turkey gave us some hope over the weekend. That doesn't seem to be happening. Europe is actually mulling the one sanction that would genuinely hit Russia hard, oil sanctions. Now, given that Europe imports a lot of its oil from Russia, that's a big move for Europe, therefore European stocks not too happy. The question, again, also whether or not gas is included in that, we never know. It's sort of a strange way of going about it, isn't it? Sort of the step-by-step sanction movements here. Oil prices, however, on that news are up another 5% to $112. Natural gas isn't, which makes me think that gas probably isn't included in this new sanctions discussion here. But oil prices up very, very substantially. Gas prices up another 3% in the US. Palladium up some more. Oats and wheat prices also up substantially, which are all exports from that part of the world. Jan and Cherry, welcome here. PDD release earnings. Okay, didn't they do that a while back? I thought they did that a while back, but I haven't seen that one yet. We have NIA reporting earnings this week. That's going to be quite a big one on the 24th. I will, of course, be covering that in as much detail as humanly possible. I already put out a preview video to that yesterday, so have a look at that, but feel free to ask me here. This is a Q&A, so you can ask as much as you like. I'll do my utmost to answer all of you. And of course, this is not financial advice. This is hopefully entertaining and educational, which is our mantra here for the channel. And on that note, you do have about 15 hours left to get your hands on any of our programs with the current coupon code life-changing. If you have questions on that, book a call with us. We're quick, so we will aim to give you a call before then. So book a call here with felixfriends.org/call, and Cheryl will take your call, and she does an amazing job, as she's done for over a decade for me. Shall we jump straight into it? I think we should probably jump straight into it. Let me run you through a little bit here, this oil thing. So there, the IEA, which I think is a strange acronym, the International Energy Agency, has come up with a 10-point plan to reduce oil demand. And they're basically saying that's what we need to do so we can get rid of Russian oil. Now, they say we can cut oil demand by almost 3 million barrels a day through this program. Speed limits is one of them. That's not going to be very popular. Working from home, car-free Sundays, and you know, that sort of thing. So these are the kind of suggestions here, essentially aiming at the ICE petrol cars. Now, of course, another thing could just be to, you know, everyone go out and buy a NIA or a Tesla. That would also do the trick, I suppose. So yeah, that's genuinely their plan. Another plan today that we've got out is Amazon's healthcare business. That could be quite an interesting one. They're apparently going full throttle at that, and they are, basically Amazon Care, or however you wish to call this, is going to become a massive telehealth business, which in itself could add very, very tremendous value here to Amazon's overall value. So I'm quite bullish on that. I think they are in a good position to do that because they already deliver everything else to us. And my chief financial analyst is excited. She just jumped on my lap. Here she is. Say good morning, Saluda. Good morning. Cherry is too busy buying the programs. So you buying the dips? Great. I'm always happy people are investing. Do options do well after market volatility stabilizes, says Cherry? Well, we do always do well, but it's easier to do really, really well, like we are doing at the moment. So far, we're up something like 80% on the year for the first 8 weeks of the year, and that's because volatility is high. Now, is volatility going to stay high this year? Well, I'd say yes. Why? We're going to get 6 more interest rate increases. We're also going to get the Fed starting to shred money from probably June onwards. And there are plenty of other things in the market to keep volatility high. Volatility doesn't just come from bad news. It also comes from good news. So I think we're in for a fairly volatile year. And really, retail and Reddit and all of that have just caused more volatility. So I'm pretty bullish on volatility, if there's one thing. But don't buy the VIX, because the VIX, the way it's set up, it's a it tracks futures contracts. They always go to zero. They're always loss making. So don't hold the VIX for extended periods. It's a really bad thing to do. Shai is asking about the Hong Kong and NEO stock movements and how those two work together. But let me see if I can pull that up for you here. One sec. NEO. Let me share it with you. Okay, I'm just trying to get both of them up at the same time. NEO Inc. New York we have, but we want, here is NEO Hong Kong. And then let's compare NEO US. And I think it will answer your question for you, that they do move the same. Now, if you went onto an hourly chart, you would see some funny business happening. Okay, let me get rid of the moving average line. I don't want to confuse you unnecessarily. So what have you got? Well, the blue line is NEO. New York NEO as you know it. And then the little, let me also make that a line. Okay, they're both blue lines now. How helpful. It always does that. I don't know why. It's kind of like just to confuse us. So, yeah. So you've got the two NEOs here, and you can see they basically trade the same. But actually what was helpful about the candles, is that you could see that there was a gap in between. And where these gaps are, this is the difference between the trading days. But you can see that they have to link up. And you always see that they basically have to tally up. Otherwise, you'd create a massive arbitrage opportunity. It doesn't happen. So they do connect. So if NEO Hong Kong goes up 10%, say, to this morning, while New York was sleeping, and that 10%, you then have to factor in what happened on Friday by New York NEO, because that closed later. Maybe that went down. Maybe New York also went up 5%. And then the NEO Hong Kong real movement is actually only 5%, not 10% as it looks nominally. So that would then be the difference. And then NEO New York would be expected to open 5% up over its Friday close. Is that thoroughly confusing? I hope so. IMD here is asking about, do you think there's a Chinese economic slump? Do you think that'll affect NEO earnings? Okay, think about what affects NEO earnings, really. Let me find some clean space on our, if we can't find some clean space on our little yellow board here. And a pen. A kingdom for a pen. Here is a pen. Right. So what affects earnings? Well, we are going to get We're going to get Q4 2021 earnings in. And that seems like a strange thing to do given that it's March, but that's the way it works. It's the end of year earnings. You have more time to file them. I think you have 90 days. And if I'm not mistaken, I think for quarterly earnings, other than the annual one, I think you have 45 days. So we know how many cars were delivered in that period. And we also know the gross margin in the previous quarter was what? It was 19.2%. I can tell you that. How do I know that? Because I use our smart little stock tracker, which you can, of course, get your hands on. It's part of the Patreon. Go to Felix.org/Patreon. It's like 20 cents a day for everything else as well. So 19.1, actually 19.1%. So the cars delivered kind of give us a pretty thorough idea of what revenue is going to be. Because, yeah, there could be a little bit of fluctuation. Some cars are a bit more expensive than others. But generally speaking, that's pretty much what we know. The real question is, therefore, what's the margin? And what's, therefore, the impact on earnings per share? What's the profit or the gross profit per vehicle? That's really what we're going to look at. That's really what we're watching out for. We're not really going to be very surprised by the revenue numbers. They could be marginally higher or lower, but it isn't really a big surprise. And that is the same for all car companies. You basically just pretty much know what you're going to get. All that matters is margins. And then secondly, what matters is forward guidance. And that's really what we want to look for. How cautious are they with their ability to scale up over the next couple of months and quarters? How bullish are they on scaling up the ET7? That's what's really going to matter here. And if they are giving us the same kind of language they have in the last couple of quarters about, it's quite a challenging time, but we're fairly confident, but it is a challenging time, then I don't think the market's going to move a great deal. Shai, I'm saying that NEO is essentially traded virtually 24 hours. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you are right. Something like, I don't know how many trading hours there will be if you count Hong Kong. Hong Kong has a lunch break as well. It's quite civilized. So yeah, essentially Hong Kong is traded around the clock. It's the same story for Alibaba or any of the others. And as I say, the price movement of one gets mirrored in the other. It's just you have to take into account what happened on the previous day to come up with what the actual real difference will be, if that makes sense. Okay, let me just see if I miss any questions here. Nazi, will I be live streaming? I intend to, though I will be on the move, so I will do my best, Nazi. But I will of course cover it, and you guys on the Discord will of course get all the info from me first and all my feedback from that first. So if you want to get your hands on this smart spreadsheet and put all your tickers in there, which I highly recommend, then literally if you're only going to do one thing, I think that would be a really really good thing to help you out. Go to felixfranz.org/Patreon. Join us. It's like 20 cents a day, as I said, or about you get another month off if you join us for the year. And then you'll start to understand what the numbers are. You start to understand what the core numbers are, what actually makes your stocks great or not so great. And that's really, really, really important. I couldn't stress that anymore. Nazi, is China going to be doing any QE? Well, they are in a very different position. In the interest rate is something like 3.5% in China. So they are in a very, very different position to the US. So they actually have quite a lot of room to support the economy without, let me see if we can find some China interest. Hang on, economy. China interest rate. Here we go. See, it's at 3.7%. Let me get rid of NEO. It's at 3.7% at the moment. So, they could cut that rate quite significantly with, and be, they're nowhere near this like zero interest environment that we are in Europe and in the US. Nazi, new COVID strain, I think the markets are bored of that. Honestly, I don't think it's going to have a massive effect. I kind of think, here's the pre-market, by the way, looking a little bit glum on the Chinese stocks. I just think we've had so much of it, and we all now know that even if there is more COVID, it'll end up in a rally inevitably afterwards. And I think people's tolerance or patience with lockdowns are pretty much worn out. I would say for most of the world, the Western world at least, I don't really see that coming. I think it's more of a let's manage this kind of approach going forward rather than the kind of stricter approach and the kind of terrified approach that we started this off with. Now, NEO is actually up 2.4% here because Hong Kong was up this morning. You're quite right. Tesla is also up. PDD is up. Apparently, PDD reporting earnings. Shall we have a look at what they are? Let me see. Here we go. They actually made a non-GAAP. No, it's still. Hang on. Analyst. Revenue was 27 billion, up from 26 billion a year earlier. Analysts were expecting 29 billion. So it's a miss, isn't it? But the market likes it. I guess the market was expecting a bigger miss. It's quite funny sometimes. You can miss and you can go up. It's a strange place we live in. Yeah, there is an unfortunate plane crash in China, Nazi. I didn't realize it was a Boeing. Is that a big deal for Boeing? Well, it's definitely not exactly an advert for them. Let's have a look at what Boeing is doing this morning. Boeing's down 4% this morning, I guess, on that news. Though a lot of stocks are down, 4%. So it's not exactly like a massive, massive reaction. But yeah, so some of our kind of more safe tech stocks, PayPal's and Microsoft and Netflix are down about just under 1%. GGPI is up somewhat to 11.19, holding very nicely, actually, isn't it, through all of this volatility. Palantir up to 12.85. SoFi up 0.5% to 9.90 pre-market. And NEO almost leading the pack here to up, 2.5% to 21.37. CJ asking, will I need a large amount of money to start the options trading program? CJ, it's a good question. And the answer is quite simple. So I always say each trade, excuse my horrific handwriting, should be no more than 5% of portfolio. What does that mean? Well, the smallest trade you can pretty much pull off is about $50, I'd say, and therefore you would need at least $1,000. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense, I would say. And that way you could make 5% trades. Now, if your portfolio is, say, $10,000, then I would actually say, let's make those trades 1% in size. So, we make it $100 each. And that way we are really nicely diversified. And you are always protecting your capital. It's the key mantra, really. And if you follow my options trades, I know a lot of you guys are already on the master options program. What are my losses for the year? So it's now mid-March. Is it mid-March? The biggest loss was $50. On Friday I lost $32, and number 3 loss was $25. Right? Those are my losses. And then my gains so far are something like 80% up or something, which is $7,000, basically $8,000, $7,998 if we're going to be pedantic about it. So getting $8,000 while losing 100 and a bit is makes me very happy, because I'm protecting my downside. And that's also what I teach you, to occasionally we jump out of trades and we lose $10, $20, $30, $40, $50. And we're really happy with that, because we made, like on Friday, we made almost $2,000, but we lost $32. And I think that's a pretty good balance. So that's really important to do that. And therefore, please stop buying options. Please stop buying calls. Please stop buying leaps. You are gambling, and there is no probability behind it. There's no real strategy behind it. There is only hope. And hope is not really an investment strategy that will make you rich in the long term. You can get lucky. I mean, bull markets make you very lucky and very smart, genius, in fact. But in the long run, we want to be able to make money through all cycles, down, sideways, and up. CJ, no, you don't need $10,000. You literally just need $1,000. You need at least $1,000 to be able to start options trading. Otherwise that. And Nazi is one of our students here. She joined about a week ago or so, Nazi. And you did your first paper trade on Think or Swim, a straddle. How marvelous, Nazi. And a straddle is a really, really cool setup, which basically, you now have me on the options train. I apologize. And so say you had a stock like BA here, Boeing here, and you wanted to say, well, why don't I set up a trade that makes money in this range by Friday? So as long as I stay in my green box, as long as I stay in here, I make money. That's essentially what a straddle is. And it's a very smart thing to do. And you can look up your probabilities, and you can look up, hey, I've got 80% chance of making money with this. And the stock can go out of your box. So the stock could rally up and come back down and then close somewhere up here, and you still make your maximum profit. And that's the way we set them up. So brilliant. Nazi is doing that. And that's what I encourage my students to do. We paper trade, so we risk no money whatsoever until you are really, really confident. I'll be doing the live stream of my trades, those are real trades, straight after this call for the option students. I've already put that out there, so in about 30 minutes or half an hour or so. And you can see what I'm doing. And I think that also kind of imparts some experience, because you watch me research, you watch me pick and reject trades based on the numbers I see. It's a numbers game. It really is. And we have a very, very firm strategy that gives you a clear route path to profitability there. Nazi, I cannot wait to the real trade. I really urge you to wait. There is a real advantage in waiting. There will be things that surprise you, because that's just the way it works. And it's better you get the surprises without risking money. It's much, much better. In the UK, Matthew, for options trading, most of my UK students use interactive brokers. So IBKR is usually the acronym. Use that. And then there is a free tool called Option Strat. and that gives you nice charts because IBKR has pretty horrific charts. Actually, all the brokers have horrific charts, so the visuals are quite useful to get your hands around it, your mind around it. So optionstrat.com is quite a good one. But yeah, Interactive Brokers is what pretty much everybody else uses. Some people use Tastyworks as well, but I think the majority use Interactive Brokers in the UK. In fact, in most European, most US, non-US countries, most non-North American countries, most options traders use Interactive Brokers. Is oil a buy? Well, the question is whether you're too late to the party or not. If you look at, in fact, I've got it open here. Crude is at 112. You know, look at that. We were last February, we were at $58. Now we're at 112. Could it go up some more? It could. Yes, it might, even if Europe does actually sanction oil, but I don't know. For me, it's speculative. For me, it's cyclical. Not really what I'm aiming for. I like to make money with very, very high probabilities of making money rather than gambling on something that may or may not go up some more. Can you do a demo with fake cash, says Drone? Absolutely. I mean, literally go to Interactive Brokers, open a paper trading account, and you can play with it. And it's fake money, it's monopoly money, and that's a really, really good way to learn. You want me to do a video on that or something, Drone? Yeah, I could have a think about that. We're happy to do that. Maybe we can do a little YouTube webinar or something like that. I'll show you how to do some of those. Righty-ho. So let's have a look at the pre-market here again. We have PD rallying very nicely. Has that pulled Barber along with it? I don't think it has. No, Barber, in fact, on the opposite side of the spectrum, down 3.8%. So not really benefiting from PDD's disappointing, yet not that disappointing earnings. They didn't meet expectations, but they didn't fail expectations by as much as some people thought they might fail expectations, if that makes sense to you. NEO still up quite nicely here, pre-market at 21.33. Tesla also up. The banks are up. Lucid's up. Coupang's up. Palantir is up. Apple is down ever so slightly, and GGPI at 0. Cherry's asking, do you think the market will pull back after big runs, or is it just going to continue shooting to the next moving average? Cherry, if I knew that, I would be a trillionaire. Nobody knows that. You can ask 1,000 people that question, and nobody is really going to be able to tell you that. Now, you can look at certain things like technical analysis. That gives you some ideas of supports and resistance. So, for example, if I put the Fibonacci's in here, I can see that we are at the moment above the 350 support line, which is good. So that's positive that we are above that. Although pre-market we're kind of scuttling around the 350. And then I can also see that the next real resistance point will be 359 or 360. And we are on an upward trend. I mean, we have here created for the last couple of days quite a nice upward trend. We broke through 1, 2, 3 Fibonacci lines, and we're now fighting with this one here, which was also the previous peak. So that's kind of the one to kind of break through. So the problem with that at the moment is this is useful. It definitely is useful. I mean, we use it for options trading, we use it for all sorts of decisions. But because there is so much external stuff happening at the moment, this models the behavior of traders, and traders watch this, and therefore it is also accurate. But this doesn't take into effect whether Ukraine and Russia come to a peace accord or whether Europe puts sanctions on oil. It doesn't know that kind of stuff, right? So this works on statistics purely, and there are so many outside events happening at the moment that are impacting the markets that I would be cautious and not make a one-directional bet. I would make a two-directional bet and say, let's make some money whether things going up or whether things are going down. And that's precisely what we do with options. We just allow ourselves that wriggle room to basically say, okay, let's say QQQ stays between 370 and, that's some economic data there, between 370 and 318. Let's say we stay in this range here, and then let's make some money as long as we stay in that range. And we can look up the probabilities, and then we'll know what we're doing here. Shooters Joe, are you able to speculate on when the next recession may hit? Well, I'm always able to speculate. The question is whether I'll be right or not. I mean, if you look at the data, and I showed you some of that in a video yesterday that I put out. Let me see if I can find the charts for it while I'll tell you about it. Let me just see if we got that. No, that's not it. Too many charts. Okay, essentially, right, there is what's the bad news? The bad news is that real wage growth is very severely negative now because inflation is so high. So that's going to hit consumption, that's going to hit expenditure. But the good news is, this is it? Yeah, this is it. The good news is that household wealth has gone up tremendously because, well, the stock market's gone up so much. So that blue line here is household wealth, going up tremendously since 2020. And also housing prices have gone up tremendously. So as long as the housing market holds up, I would say we probably won't get a recession, even if we get another 6 interest rate rises this year, because the Fed is still accommodative, to use the strange word they use. They basically still have money in the market. They're still supporting us, even after 7 rate hikes, even after a bit of money shredding. But the question is, will that have an impact on the housing market? Will that actually turn that around? And will that therefore impact household wealth? If it does that, then we might have a bit of a turnaround. Now, the S&P typically in the next 11 months or the next 12 months, we'd expect it on average to go up by 11%. That's the statistic from all previous rate increases that we've had. And over the next 3 years, it should go up 23% if the past is any guide to the future. So that gives you some idea of where we may be headed. And Nazi says Felix likes the recession. Well, I sort of do, yes. In a strange way, I do. Why do I do? Because it gives us an opportunity to buy more of our favorite stocks much, much cheaper. And for that, really, you just have to know that the stocks you own and the stocks you invested in are high quality stocks. So, use our life portfolio tracker, for example, or any other tool that you have access to figure out whether or not your stocks are actually great stocks. And that's really a key thing. And then diversify into different industries, different sectors. Don't be all in on, China or Russia or Indonesia or anything like that. Be diversified, be smart about it. And then you can really, really enjoy a downturn. You can enjoy a recession, and you just focus on selecting some great stocks, and you can focus on your cash generation and just keep investing. And you'll be very, very wealthy. Okay, we've got a few more votes for a demo on Interactive Brokers options trading. All right, let me make a note of that. I'll arrange something like that. I think it's probably a good idea. I don't really use Interactive Brokers, so I'm going to have to get my hands around that. But I suspect it'll be very similar to all other brokerages anyway, as they all are pretty much the same. Now, market opens in literally 2 minutes. Let's have another look at the futures. The futures are down just a little, but they're kind of undecided, really. Volatility is up a 0.5 percentage point. And PDD leading the rally here, NEO up as well, Tesla up about 1 percentage point. And then on the downside, we've got DD and BABA down 6% and 4%. Tiger, EHang, and all those Chinese stocks also selling off. So nice to see NEO separating itself from the sort of Chinese pack here. That's really, really a good sign, I would say. And there is a name I cannot read, but you say the institutional ownership of NEO fell 6.6% over the weekend. That seems like a lot. Let me have a look. So I don't see it in here yet. Here it's actually going up. Can you shoot me over that set of data you have? My email is felix@goatacademy.org. I'd be very interested to have a look at that if you have some information on that. I normally get the data here, and we can see what's been reported in the last couple of days. Norge Bank, that was a big buy on the 9th. I mean, the buy wasn't on the 9th. It was filed on the 9th. Really important distinction. And then the trades reported in the last day or two are pretty small. So they're not going to have a big impact here. Right. So I'm very excited, looking forward to our live options stream today, which will take place straight after this, or in half an hour, in fact. I am also very excited. I'm talking to lots of my students at the moment and garnering some feedback and having some really, really fantastic conversations with people, and I'll share more of that. I shared one of you that with you yesterday on the last video I put out. So have a watch of that. I'll put some more of those on the website as well. So thank you to the community. Thank you for being not just such wonderful students, but actually achieving what we set out to achieve, which is financial freedom, knowing how to select stocks as part of the financial freedom program, and making a ton of money on the options program without risking your capital, and knowing what to do, being smart about it, stopping the options buying and becoming an options seller like an options pro would. So a huge appreciation for you for that. And that coupon code, life-changing, expires here in 14 hours as this menacing countdown counts down to 0. So have a look at that program, and it'll give you tremendous value. So my students tell me every day, and you will have complete support and confidence in what you do, and you'll also be able to join the live stream that's taking place after this, where I will guide you through all my trades of the day, completely unedited, unprepared, so you can see what you are what I'm doing, and you can learn from that as well. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you on the next one.